Konnichiwa guys, EX 20 back again with a brand new video. We are here at a top list for the 50th, 60th, 80th. I don't know, I lost track of how many times we've been racing here at a top list. But you can see that here we are in a lower ranked lobby as we have been struggling with our SR as the penalties have been switched up. They fixed it a little bit, but we caught ourselves in a really bad predicament where we got into a race where we accidentally ran into the back of two cars, gave ourselves some penalty points, and that's what ended up costing us here as we are again starting on pole position with the 213.0 as the second place driver is starting with a 214. So I thought this was going to be an easy race, just run away with it, get a great start, and be able to just ride along, be like Lewis Hamilton, stay about 10-20 seconds ahead of second place, and just get an easy win here. But boy, was I wrong. You guys will definitely see that right now. But before we jump into it, if you guys really enjoy the content, please subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the videos. It really helps out the channel when you guys do so. Now anyways, that's enough promoting myself. Let's jump straight into this crazy race. Now as we jump into the race here, we are getting the intro now as we are in the Toyota 86 limited edition. I believe that's the name of the car. Again, on a top list for about the 80th time here. Picks this track basically twice a month, so I'm used to racing around this track, and honestly I don't really blame GT Sport for picking this track. It actually brings up a lot of really good races, especially with these types of cars that are not group 3s or group 4s. But you can see here we're waiting on the grid as we get the 5 red lights, waiting for them to go out. Lights out, and away we go as we try to impersonate Crofty, but yeah, it doesn't really work out here as we are now on the straight, leading us into turn number 1, shifting up into 4th gear here. We have the brake balance set to the 2s in the rear as we're heading to turn number 1. Staying on the inside, the blue car is able to make a great overtake on the outside here as we're now getting pressure from behind. The red Toyota right underneath us is able to just push us out of the way, but he gets a 1-second penalty for forcing us out. And now we are demoted back into 3rd place as we have a gaggle of cars right behind us. Now this is very scary because we have guys ahead of us that are beating and banging. We have cars behind us that are beating and banging, and easily we can get knocked out, pushed out wide, and then we have to fight our way from the rear as we are now getting pressured for 3rd place as we come into the right-hander. Jumping to the hairpin, we make a little bit of contact with the black Toyota as he actually didn't give us any room there. Try to force us down. As you can see, he's beating and banging with the guy behind us, and now we are able to force our way into 3rd place as we set our sights on the American and the Canadian right ahead of us as we head into the long left-hander. Coming out of the long left-hander, shifting up into 4th gear. We're staying on the slipstream as we got a little gap now from us to 4th place, so this is really good. All we have to do is just focus on what's going on ahead of us as we break right after the 50-meter board, heading to the hairpin. Now you can see right behind us, one of the guys tries to attempt a punterino, but he misses everybody as he goes straight into the shadow realm, and we're able to get a great exit now as we make a move onto the inside, going 3 wide of the Canadian and the American. Able to get 1 car there. Are we able to get the American? No, we're not, as we back out of the move, try to get a crossover, make a little bit of contact with the American as we go into the inside. Now he tries to force us down. As you can see, he's pushing us down. Not sure exactly why he's doing that, so we retaliate on him, give him a little bit of a bump there, try to spin him out as I got a little bit frustrated with him there as he tried to push us down and try to spin us out on the inside. So an eye for an eye here as we are not taking the bumping here on this racetrack as we come into the final sector. Heading to the final sector, we actually lost the position because of all the tussling that we were having with the American. Now we are demoted into 3rd place as we come into the final couple of corners, getting as close as we can to the blue Toyota right ahead of us. He's getting a little bit loose as we're trying to get a really good run coming out of these corners, and we're able to do so here, but we also have the red Toyota right behind us that got a great exit as well as we're on the slipstream now of the blue Toyota. Heading onto the inside as we come into lap number 2. Are we going to be able to make an overtake heading into turn number 1 as the outside is the preferred line going into turn number 1 as they usually get a really good entrance and exit. We try to brake as late as we can right after that orange barrier, and we're able to do so, but he makes an easy cut back there, and now we're going side by side. So I'm a little bit worried here because I'm afraid that he's going to try to push me off again, but he's able to drive clean with us here, which is pretty surprising as we come into turn number 3. Braking as late as we can, going into turn number 3, make a little bit of contact with him that makes us go a little bit wide, and we get demoted back into 4th place as the red Toyota was able to take advantage of us as we got a little bit wide going into that third corner, and now we have to force our way back up in front of these guys and try to catch back up to first, as he's starting to run away with it here, as he has now expanded his lead to about 5 seconds on us as we come into this long left-hander. So on the long left-hander, the Canadian was able to overtake the blue Toyota right ahead of us, and now we're just following in line right here, as it's going to basically be a repeat of last lap, where the Canadian has to serve his penalty, and us and the blue Toyota is most likely going to be able to get around him, as the blue Toyota tries to force his way into the inside, makes contact with the Canadian, tries to bump him out of the way. We go onto the inside of both of them and are able to get 2 for 1 right there as we come out of the hairpin. Shift our way now into second place and set our sights now on the first place drivers. All we have to do is just focus on what's ahead of us and not allow this blue Toyota to get close enough to try to make an overtake, as you can see how he already made the overtake on the Canadian as he pushed him out of the way. So a little bit worried here, as he can easily go into the rear of us, push us out of the way. But if we can get as far away from the blue Toyota as we can, coming off of turn number the final corner onto the front stretch, then we should be all right, as that should be the only place that he can be able to make an overtake or a desperate lunge, at least, as we are now coming to the final couple corners. So on the final sector now, leading us into lap number 3, you can see we're starting to pull away now from the third place drivers. The gap is now almost 0.7 of a second, so this should be good enough for us to just set our sights on first place and try to catch up to him now, as behind us they are starting to fight with each other. So jumping up into lap number 5, we're able to make up the time now on the black Toyota right ahead of us, and now we're getting closer and closer to him as the laps wind down here. 8 laps is the total here on this race, as we are on the hard compound tires. We don't have to come into the pits, as the fuel consumption basically was non-existent, but the tires do wear out pretty well here, especially on the front, so we have to be kind of careful about that. Not sure if the first place driver had already worn out his tires, as like I said, these turns are just very, very fast on this car. You get a lot of oversteer on majority of these corners, so it just wears out the fronts, as again, we're just closing the gap ever so slightly every single lap, as we're just chipping away from his lead now, as we bring it down to 1.2 seconds coming out of the final few corners here, and are able to get close enough to get into the slipstream now as we come into the final couple corners onto the front stretch. So as we come out of the final corner here, leading us into the next lap, we're staying right behind first place, as we're going to fast forward down the straight, leading us into turn number 1. We're getting closer and closer to him as we're in the slipstream. Brake as late as we can. We both hit our marks pretty good, as we are now coming to the first corner, but we clip right into the inside of that apex and try to get a great exit coming out of turn number 1, and we're able to kind of do so here, as the gap now is down to 1 second. Can we catch up to him before the race ends, as we have about 2.5 laps left now on this race as we come into turn number 3. Going into turn number 3, 4, and 5, there's actually a yellow flag right ahead of us, so not sure what happened where we have a yellow flag right ahead of us, but I guess there's a car in last place here that is not able to get a grip on this track, but kind of what is expected here, as we are racing in the lower ranked lobby. Not his fault, probably still new to the game. We're trying to just get used to the game in general, but you can see here that the guy is struggling. He goes all the way to the inside, slams into the barriers, and we're able to overlap him now as we come down the straight, leading us into the hairpin. So coming to the hairpin, see the black Toyota right ahead of us. We try to brake after the 50-meter board to gain some time here, and this has been the best part of the track for me, is the final sector. That's where I've been making a majority of my time, so I'm actually looking forward to here, as we are able to bring it down to 0.7 of a second now, the gap from us to first place, and we head into the final sector now, go into the right-hander, try to get it as best as we can without going too wide, as it's easy to go wide, clip that grass and spin yourself out, but luckily we're able to do so here, and again, just closing up the gap here, being very, very patient, as we do not have to push the car too much. We know we're faster than him. All we have to do is just hit our lines, make sure that we don't get distracted by him, and we should be able to get into a position where we can make an overtake now, as this might be our best chance here as we come out of the final few corners here. Coming out of the final couple corners, if we could get a great exit, we should be able to get even closer into the slipstream, and that should be able to propel us forward even closer to his rear bumper, and maybe we can try to make a move going into turn number 1, as he goes very, very wide coming out of that final few corners. Staying in the slipstream now, we're staying right behind him as he's swerving left and right to try to break the toe, but we're not going to fall for his tricks here. We're just going to stay right behind him, stay in the slipstream as he stays onto the inside here. We take the preferred line going onto the outside into the corner. Going to turn number 1, we go onto the outside, try to make a cut onto the inside as we get a really great exit here. Now we are going side by side as we go into the inside. He makes a little bit of contact with us, forces us into the grass a little bit, but no harm, no foul there as we are staying side by side going to turn number 3. Brake as late as we can, make a little bit of contact with first place, but he's able to hold it together. And I felt a little bit bad there, so I back out of the corner right there as I did make a little bit of contact with him. So things started dramatically heating up here as we were coming to the final couple of laps, going into the right-hander, staying right behind first place. Are we going to be able to make an overtake going to the hairpins? That's another great overtaking zone as we stay right behind him heading to the left-hander. Takes a very narrow entrance going into this corner, so that should be good for us as we take a wide entrance, get a great exit. He takes a narrow exit out of that corner. Look at how much time we're gaining on him now as we close the gap to 1/10 of a second. Heading to the outside here, he's going to defend the inside. We try to make a cut back into the inside, try to make a cheeky move onto the inside, but he covers us here, brakes way later than us, shuts the door on us, and now we have to fall and settle back into second place as I did not want to make contact with him. I wanted to do this overtake cleanly, not push him out of the way, but he did make an aggressive defensive move there. But hey, that's part of the name of racing, especially if you're doing it for the win. So onto the final corner, or not the final corner, but the final sector here. And again, this is our best part of the racetrack. We're just gaining closer and closer to him. So if we can get a great exit coming out of the final couple of corners, then we can definitely try to compete with him on the straight and contend for that first place position as we head into turn number 1. So onto the final couple of corners now as we've come underneath the bridge. That's what she said. We're staying right behind first place now as we're going to the final couple of corners, staying right on the back of him as he gets a really good exit here, and he's actually able to outperform us on our best sector. So that was very surprising to me because I thought that we'd be able to stay right behind him and get even closer as we now come into the final lap. So on the final lap, you can see on the timesheet on the right hand side, we actually ran one of our slowest lap as we ran at 2:17.9. Tries to defend the inside here as we come into turn number 1. We go onto the outside, try to do the exact same move that we did on the lap previous as we try to get a great exit, but he covers the inside, so we got to go into the outside now. Side by side, it's a drag race heading into turn number 2 and 3 as we now go into the right-hander. We are on the outside, have the lead for just a bit, but he's got the inside going to turn number 3. Going side by side now as we head into turn number 4 and 5. We're on the inside, but he's on the outside. We have to slow down so we avoid making contact with him, and he gets a better run on the outside as that was the preferred line going into those two left-handers, and you can see how much of a difference that was as he gets a great exit coming out of the hairpin. Staying right behind him, we get a little bit loose as we're trying to push the car now as much as we can to try to at least make the overtake on him as we head into this long left-hander. Staying right behind him on the slipstream. Can we make the overtake going into the hairpin if we're close enough as we are getting a great exit there? He covers the inside there as he knows what we did on the lap previous. We're staying on the outside, brake right after that 50-meter board. We're going to get a wide entrance and get a good exit coming out of this hairpin. And you can see that it actually worked here as we are now very, very close to his rear bumper, getting onto the slipstream. Can we make a move onto the outside here as he's going to defend the inside going to the right-hander? Take a move onto the outside, get a really wide entrance here as we cut back onto the inside, try to take a look onto the inside, but he covers us there, slams the door on our face, and we have to settle right behind him as we only have maybe one more opportunity to try to make an overtake on him before the race ends as we come into these two right-handers. Going into the two right-handers, we brake very, very late, are able to close the gap even more as we're now all over his back bumper here, going to the final few corners. Going on to the final few corners now. Are we going to be able to get a great exit to try to make an overtake before the start-finish line as we make a really wide entrance now going into this long right-hander? Can we make the overtake here? And unfortunately, it looks like we're not going to be able to. We're just going to run out of time. Maybe one more lap we could have made it, but it looks like the black Toyota is able to defend his lead, get the win, and we finish this race in second in a dramatic fashion after getting bumped all over the place in the beginning of the race, and then just having this amazing race with first place as I was not expecting a really close competitive race with anybody here without touching bumpers or being pushed out of the way, because again we got put down to a lower safety rating lobby. But Fortunately, we were able to find this great race with the first place driver, and although we did have some complications in the beginning of the race, it was worth it because this was a lot of fun, especially with these cars around the top list. It's what more can I ask for? It's just really close, hard racing, and we were able to finish this race in second. Although I did want to win, it's okay. It was finishing in second with a really hard fought race against someone is better than running away with the lead and then just winning it by 10-20 seconds. So if you guys found this video very entertaining, which I hope you guys did, again, please subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video, as it really helps out the channel when you guys do so. And if you guys enjoyed the video, I hope to see you guys on the next one. Peace out.